I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10. Our coverage this week starts with a tragedy at a small church in a small American community. About 30 miles outside of San Antonio, Texas, is a place named Sutherland Springs. Yesterday, during service at the First Baptist Church, police say a man entered the building and started shooting. A county sheriff says more than 20 people were killed. Numerous others were injured, though we didn't know the exact number when we produced today's show. At least 2 different medical facilities were treating victims of the shooting. There was a chase after the attack. The suspect apparently fled into a neighboring county where he also died. Officials were trying to find out if he took his own life or if he was killed by police, in addition to what his motive might have been. A business owner in Sutherland Springs says it's a very small but very tightly knit community. And U.S. leaders from President Donald Trump to Texas Governor Greg Abbott to Senator John Cornyn, who serves Texas, indicated they were praying for the people affected. 5 days after a terrorist attack in New York City, there was a sign of resilience yesterday when 50,000 runners were expected to hit the road in the TCS New York City Marathon. City and state officials had promised the event would be safe following an attack on October 31st that killed 8 people in the borough of Manhattan. That was the worst terrorist act in New York City since it was a target on September 11, 2001. For Sunday's race, the city lined the roadways with sand trucks and police vehicles to protect pedestrians. 2.5 million spectators were expected, and of those who took on the 26-mile challenge, one said she couldn't live her life afraid that something like a terrorist attack could happen. The threat couldn't stop her from accomplishing her goal to run. Some other runners that CNN spoke to gave a similar message. 10-second trivia. Which of the 7 wonders of the ancient world is the oldest? Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Colossus of Rhodes, Statue of Zeus at Olympia, or Great Pyramid of Giza? The Great Pyramid isn't only the oldest, it's the only wonder of the ancient world that's still mostly intact. Researchers recently discovered a void in the Great Pyramid they hadn't known about before. By void, we mean a space that's almost 100 feet long. The journal Nature, which details the finding, says this is the first time since the 1800s that a space this significant has been identified in the pyramid. But whether it adds to the structure's mysteries or answers ancient secrets is up for debate. A spokesman for Egypt's government says there's no evidence that suggests this space leads to an undiscovered gallery or burial chamber. And archaeologists point out that the pyramid has other voids, so this could just be one that hadn't been found yet. Still, there are a lot of unanswered questions about the Great Pyramid, and researchers hope this discovery will help them learn how it was built. They're not allowed to drill holes or use cameras. To identify this void, they used equipment to track cosmic ray particles inside the structure. But that's not the only way in which modern technology is helping archaeologists study ancient history.
Magic is seeing this with candlelight.
Adam Lowe freely admits that he's a man with an obsession to document the tomb of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh, Seti I.
The tomb actually tells us how the people from 3,500 years ago think different things, have different philosophies, value different things. The way they thought can be read through the very articulate evidence that's on the walls of these tombs. And if we can really build a dialogue that crosses time and use technology to help that, I think we're at an incredibly exciting moment.
Just a room, you think, but what a room, known among Egyptologists as the Hall of Beauties. What's just as astonishing is that this is in fact a facsimile, a precise recreation in a museum in Switzerland of how the room looked exactly 200 years ago when the tomb was discovered. Adam Lowe's specialist art company Factum Arte has made tomb facsimiles before. They scanned the tomb of Tutankhamun in 2009 and made a replica now installed as a tourist attraction in Egypt. The same methods we use for Seti's tomb.
We're now making high-resolution molds using 3D printing technologies from laser scan data that have never involved any contact with the wall.
No contact at all?
Zero contact at any point in any of the operation.
The Seti replica was milled in the Factum Arte workshop in Madrid, and a fine, flexible skin added with a printout of the frescoes. The facsimile was assembled in panels. Seti's tomb was discovered in 1817 by an Italian circus strongman, an adventurer known as the Great Belzoni. The vivid decoration entranced him, and as a record, a series of watercolours was painted. But soon whole sections of the wall were hacked off as trophies. This fragment ended up in the British Museum. This original relief of the goddess Mahat with a feather headdress is from a museum in Florence. The only way you can tell that she's the real thing is because she's under protective glass. The copies aren't. This is what Seti's tomb looks like now as virtual reality. Still absolutely extraordinary, multiple rooms and a descent of over 130 meters into the rock. Still the longest and deepest tomb in the Valley of the Kings, but now irreparably damaged. Once gloriously decorated, but now patchy and in places almost entirely bleached of colour. For this exhibition in Basel, they've made facsimiles of several rooms from Seti's tomb as they are now. Alia Ismail is the first Egyptian trained in the new digital technology used for making the facsimiles. She spent 4 months scanning the tomb last year. What was it like?
Being in the tomb. The first time was insane. It was just magical. Because, you know, the tomb of Seti I was closed and nobody could have seen it for about 40 years. And then all of a sudden, I get to go inside it. And I was like, what? You know, it was one of those like dreams come true, sort of, for an Egyptologist. When I entered here, like the first time when I got to Basel, and I was like, I feel like I'm in the tomb. The only difference is that there's not enough dust. But apart from that, there's just the same feeling.
But arguably the high point of this exhibition is the regeneration of the Hall of Beauties. Seti with colour back in his cheeks, just as he was found way back in 1817.
This is resurrection.
In a way, it is resurrection, yes, absolutely. And this is where, without becoming Disneyland or kitsch or whatever, in a scientific and well-informed way, the facsimile can prove this, what we said, this added value can show more than what you can see in the tomb.
Adam Lowe will resume scanning other rooms in Seti's tomb early next year. The long-term aim is to make a facsimile of it all and place it in the Valley of the Kings.
And we have to remember, the Egyptians didn't want these tombs to change. They made them to last for eternity, but never to be visited.
Guinness World Record you probably didn't know about? Most people dressed as penguins. It was set in the United Kingdom in 2015. At that time, 624 people did this. But this isn't that event. This one's bigger. It was held recently at Ohio's Youngstown State University, whose mascot is the penguin. 972 students and alumni somehow found 972 penguin costumes and hopped inside them. They're waiting for the official certification from Guinness. But if you ask us, they're already penguiners. Now, if that sounds fishy, it's because I've used it before, and I wasn't frightened to use it again. We're krilling the penguin game on CNN 10. Some might call us the kings of it, even if others think they're for the birds. I'm Carl Azuz.